Hello everyone. Welcome to the Movieception Show. My name is Fariba. I know I haven't done this podcast in a long time, but it's the new year, a brand new start to this channel, and why not, start off the new year than to start off a podcast? So now, of course, as you can see here, I brought back my good buddy Maya. Say hi, Maya.
Hello.
She is back. As you all remember, for those who were around when we were doing this podcast, it was just kind of like a test run to see whether or not it would be a cool thing to do. This was honestly, the first time for me, a first time for Maya, and just trying to do a live podcast of the movies and news and kind of just the updates and just what's been going on around the industry. And I know there was a huge break after because Maya and I were been very busy, and not only that, but I also got sick at the end of the year, so it was just really tough to kind of find the time to, dedicate an hour to be able to talk without coughing like every 2 minutes. But I'm doing a lot better. Maya knows this. I'm doing a lot better now, and I mean, what better way than to start off the new year than to just restart, relaunch this podcast. Again, we're gonna try and see if we can make this a weekly thing. I mean, it's not going to be as if we're going to do this every day like some of the other channels that do it, just because Maya and I, we are very busy people. We're very busy. We have a lot of things going on in our personal lives. And so we're just going to try and stick to doing this for Sundays, where we kind of just, look back at the news in the last week, just discuss about it, and just kind of give our insight or just our opinions on anything that's happening in the movie or TV world, right? So what a great way to do that, right? I mean, again, we're gonna keep this, a little soft just because it is the new year. News is kind of little slow at the moment, in terms of like developments and everything. Of course, this past week there was a tragedy that's happened in California, of course, with the whole LA fires. So I mean, as I'm gonna say, my thoughts and sympathies are to all the families out there who are dealing with this a horrific event. I mean, I can't even imagine, because I mean, I don't know if you know, Maya, a lot of people have lost their homes. I believe as of right now, 10 people have died during this
Oh,
event.
dang.
So, yeah, so a lot of things have also paused this week with regards to the situation that's been happening in California. I believe as of right now, a lot of celebrities have lost their homes, including, Milo Ventil. I don't know how to say his name. Ventimiglia, the guy from This Is Us.
Yes.
Um, like there was a whole
Oh, yeah.
interview. There was a whole interview that he just did. Because he has a baby on the way. I think he's about to have a kid in about a couple days. So that
Yeah.
was really, it was really sad. Like you have to see the video. On top of that, of course, they've also had to pause a lot of premieres. A lot of movie premieres and TV premieres were canceled, and I think right now the Critics' Choice Award has been delayed indefinitely at the moment. So yeah, I think right now, a lot of the news in Hollywood and the movie and TV sphere has been a little bit, taken aback just because of the events that are happening in California. So, but again, as I said, that's my deepest sympathies for everyone, and I hope that, we can, prosper from that. So, I just want to mention that really briefly. So, now, having said that, let's get right down into the movie and TV news, because I know there is a lot of things that we can cover. And I mean, we'll probably kind of refer back to a little bit from 2025, not 2025, 2024, because a lot of things did kind of develop. I know we've been texting a lot, Maya, just because
Yeah.
a lot of things were happening, especially the whole this is it ends with us thing. But let me just start off by just talking about our anticipation for 2025, because I've already done my best films of 2024. I did a whole separate video for that last year at the very end, but I know you haven't. So let's kind of go into that mentality just to kind of start off things, because it's been a long time, and let's not get too hard on the news. So I
Yeah.
want to give you the chance to kind of give your what you thought were some of the best movies, the movies that you thought were your favorite, were the best of 2024, the ones that you may have enjoyed. I mean, again, everyone's standards are a little different. The way I did this,
Yes.
I like my way. I did look at the technicalities, but I think it was more so just how much did I enjoy a film, and that's how I determined my top list. But I want to hear yours, because I feel like I know what your number one movie might be, but I want to hear you. I want to hear you. Well, so you can do top 10, top 5, go wherever you want to go. So I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so first of all, it's always hard for me to remember what movies I
What was
saw.
in 2024?
But I mean, yeah, that was a long 12 months. But I mean, obviously, to whose surprise, Wicked was number one.
Yeah. I
That was
figured.
truly the best movie ever. But of course, like, I'm a very big Broadway nerd, so I've seen Wicked like on the touring cast. I think I've seen them 3 or 4 times and never seen them on Broadway. So this was like the first time I saw them, I think I was 11 years old. Is the first time I ever saw Wicked. So it's been a thing in my life forever. So this movie has been something I've been waiting for, and of course, it's going to be my most anticipated movie of 2025 is Wicked for Good, um, because I am so excited. But everything was great coming from the Broadway fandom into seeing it in theaters. I caught on to some changes in lyrics and scenes that they did and things they added, but truly it was phenomenal. I mean, Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, I love them. Jonathan
Iconic.
Bailey, they
Iconic.
were literally the best. But yeah, that's my top movie. It's like nobody predicted. It's like I've been talking about this since it got announced. Um, but okay, so let's see other movies. I I will
So
say
let's go into like your top five then. Like, what would you say you
okay.
really loved that it's definitely in your top five from 2025, 2024?
I will say Smile 2 was
Interesting.
really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm really big into horror, so I pretty much try to see all of the horror movies. I feel like Smile 2 is definitely better than Smile 1. Again, I feel like it is biased because I hated the ending of Smile 1. Um, but Smile 2, I don't remember her name, and I'm so sorry. I only know her as from Lemonade Mouth. Um, but
Naomi Scott.
yes, Naomi Scott. Oh my gosh, she was phenomenal. Just like how she was. I mean, we all know she's a singer in general. Again, from Lemonade Mouth. And I guess Aladdin, because I also didn't see Aladdin, but then I found out she was in that movie too.
Yeah.
Um, but phenomenal. Her acting was beautiful. I mean, her just like everything, and then they had like everyone in the movie did such a great job. And it was really like that. It was like that gruesome horror, but it was, like it really left me like, whoa, what's happening? What's going on next? Kind of thing. So I
Mm-hmm.
really like Smile too. I'll say then the third is I guess another horror, which is Long Legs. I think that came out this year. I'm pretty sure it did.
It came
Right?
out this year. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It came
Yeah.
out like it was
Okay.
like right at the end, like in September, October ish.
Long Legs. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is funny that you
Um.
mentioned that because a lot of people who, because I took a lot of people to go see that film and it was pretty mixed, but I thought it was pretty good, in my opinion. But you know,
Yeah. Well, you're the only one who knows movies. Everybody I know had never heard of it, and
right?
I was like, I need to see this movie. I thought it was so good, but again, also like we had a very 4D experience watching that movie because
Oh,
there was a part pretty early on where spoiler, I don't know if it's spoiler, but spoiler, but basically the main actress, she's sitting in her home and there's a knock on the door. As there's a knock on the door, the theater's packed, mind you.
yeah.
As there's a knock on the door, only one emergency light on the right hand side turns on the second that knock goes off. And
Oh,
we all stare at the emergency light. And I'm sitting on the same row as it because it, like, the first 3 rows close to the screen because that's how packed the theater was. And we all turn towards the emergency light and we all just kind of like, you hear this, like, it's this feeling in the room that everybody's like, what the heck is happening? So we all were like, is this part of the movie? We were like, is it, it was, and it's like, Longlegs has that demonic kind of energy towards it. And we were
mm-hmm.
just like, like I was freaking out. My dad was like, I don't know what's going on. The guy next to me ended up getting up and going to tell one of the ushers, being like, hey, the light turned on. And then the light just turned off. Like they caught it. But it just really added. And something I really liked about Long Legs was the fact that there was so many little things on the edges of the screen that you didn't
Mm-hmm.
catch. Like you're focused on something, the main thing that's going on. Then in the
Mm-hmm.
background, there's something else happening. It's like, oh my God, did you see that? And it's like the person next to you is like, what are you talking about? You're like, there's a thing. It's in the background. It's like I don't know what the technical term, cinematography. I don't know. The way they did
Yeah.
that was really cool. It had your attention like now it's like I gotta rewatch it because I'm like, how many times did I miss something else going on in the background? But yeah, I would say those are three, and then the other movies. Um, what movies came out? I don't really
I mean,
remember.
Deadpool Wolverine came out.
Oh, that was this year. Okay, yeah, obviously that's in it for reasons that we had like 4 episodes on that. Yeah, we'll add
Yeah.
that to the top. That was truly the best. I
That was such
rewatch
a
fan
fun
reactions all
experience.
the time.
Exactly.
Um, and then, dang, I don't really remember. I just remember what I saw at the end of the year. Um,
I'm trying to
I,
remember if there's anything that we may have talked about and you liked, but I mean, it's tough because there's like a lot of movies that did come out, and I watch a lot of movies, so it's really hard to keep
you
up.
watch a lot of movies, yeah.
I watch a lot of movies,
I
and
like Conclave. Conclave was really
yay!
good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Conclave
Yeah,
was great. I loved Conclave. I think that was in my top five for sure because the ending was brilliant. I love that
yeah,
ending.
yeah. My
Brilliant
mom's
ending.
big fan of the book, and she was so excited when this movie came out. So it was like, okay, we have to go see the movie. And I was like, oh, I was like, it was great. I just thought Stanley Tucci. How do you say his name?
Tucci.
Tucci. Great. He played the bishop. That's what they are. I think they are. Phenomenally. I say that as a Catholic, really not knowing the actual levels of what their names are. But yeah, I think those Conclave was great. And then yeah, the other movies that I saw were like they were okay, but truly the best thing was Wicked. So
Yeah, Wicked. I figured Wicked was gonna be your number one because I was like, if there's one movie that's clearly going to be Maya's favorite film, it's gonna be Wicked. Which honestly, I mean, not gonna lie, it's a really great film, and it ended up being my number two movie of the year, which is insane because I was like, oh my god, like I knew for a fact when I was making my list that my top five was definitely going to be Wicked, Dune Part Two, um, Conclave, The Wild Robot, and Deadpool Wolverine. It was just a matter of how I was gonna, rank them. And then I think from there I knew that at least Dune Part 2, Deadpool Wolverine, and Wicked would be my top three. And honestly, Wicked is such a brilliant film, and especially when you look deep into how they actually made it, it makes you
yes.
appreciate that film even more because it's not like they use CGI. It's not like, oh, they've enhanced it. Like, a lot of it is very practical. Yes, I mean, the Defying Gravity part, I'm pretty sure they used blue and green screens for it, but even then a lot of it was really practical. They tried to be very authentic with a lot of the setup, and not only that but just the performances from Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. I mean, that really carries the film. Like, if your star characters are not able to carry the main aspect of what the film is, and it fumbles so hard like that, then the movie is going to be a huge disaster. And thankfully they were able to find the right people. So John Chu was able to find the right people because originally he wanted to get some, lesser known actors, and instead he stuck with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo because they were really able to give such a great interpretation of Glinda and Alphaba and give some a way that, a lot of us can feel for those performances, especially just with how they were able to portray them. And again, I've not seen the Broadway myself, but I know you have, and it's like you have a much better idea of, what they're trying to portray and how they are able to adapt that onto the screen. And again, I think with even someone like me who is a non-Broadway person, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, I was really shocked how much I really liked the film. Like, because I don't like musicals. I've said this many times.
Yes.
I do not like musicals, and this was like the rare time where not only did I really appreciate a film that's put so much time and effort into it, but I really loved it. Like, I don't think there was ever a point where I hated it. Which is very rare. Like, that's a really rare thing. I mean, I don't know if that's just because I'm changing or if Wicked did something that is truly, remarkable, but that's what I'm saying. I think Wicked's gonna be one of the favorites going to award season. We can talk a little bit more of that at the end, but yeah, I'm not really surprised you put Wicked as your number one. And I'm, of course, Hearing Long Legs and Conclave and Deadpool Wolverine, again, I'm not really surprised. Those are a lot of films that a lot of people have been mentioning as well, so. But yeah, but having said that about the best films, let's go into 25-5, right? Because we have a lot of movies coming out. I mean, unlike last year, I feel like last year the catalog of movies that we got were, I mean, I feel like there was a little bit of like an inconsistency because I felt there were a couple months where things were a little bit more slow,
Mhm.
Whereas other times it was like kind of, especially in the beginning of the year, because I swear, like in the beginning, um, movies were kind of struggling a little bit, but then it started to pick up after summer. A lot of that is because of the effects of the strikes and as well as a little bit of the lingering effects of the pandemic. But I think we've now kind of reached a point where we're kind of getting back to the
Mhm.
the theater experience again, because I mean again I just looking at the box office for a lot of films in the last couple of months, things have totally been picking up. We're finally seeing kind of the same some of the numbers that we used to see pre-pandemic, and now we're going to 2025 and there's a bunch of films coming out. Like it's insane looking at the lineup of films that are going to be coming out this year, especially coming from some of the big franchises. We're getting a lot of
Mhm.
franchise films this year. I just took a
Okay.
quick look at it too and I was like, oh my god, we have a lot of big films coming out. And so why not then? Because I actually have not done a separate video for this, so I thought might as well just do this for the podcast, just to kind of get it out of the way. But I mean, feel free to go and look up a list of like 2025 movies that are coming out, because I want to kind of I want to give our perspective of films that we are looking forward to. Some of them might actually be the same with you. So I actually was able to compile a couple right now,
Okay.
the ones that I think are my most anticipated. I was able to get 12 in. So, let's get right down to it. So, I'm going to start off with Captain America. So, first off, before I even go into it, it's no particular order. Although I will kind
Mhm.
of mention which ones I'm really, really excited about. But, I mean, so starting off, I'll say Captain America Brave New World. I would not say it's like my most anticipated of all the Marvel, because this year we actually we are having three Marvel movies, of course. But I think of the three, this is maybe at the lowest of my anticipation. I feel like
Oh,
there's
okay.
two others. Of course, Thunderbolts. I think that one I'm
Mhm.
super excited to see, because originally when that concept was introduced, I think this was introduced back in a Comic Con. I think it was a Comic
I
Con,
think
right?
so. Yeah.
So I thought, I mean, why are we creating this movie with B level characters, and especially with the fact that it kind of is giving off Marvel Suicide Squad, and it's like, why are we doing
Yes.
this? But ever since seeing the first trailer, which actually dropped on my birthday, by the way,
Oh.
it dropped on my birthday. I remember I was like, oh, I was at Universal, and I was like, oh, Thunderbolts trailer just dropped. But having said that, right? Um, I watched the trailer at Universal, and then when I watched it, I was like, yo, this is actually very fun. This looks really cool. So, and especially with how they're really focusing on Yelena and Bucky and even
Mhm.
Red Guardian, it's like, whoa. Like, they all are really interesting. Even, like, Agent 13 doesn't seem as bad this time around as he was in Falcon and Winter Soldier, right? He looks actually a little bit more interesting. So, I'm looking forward to seeing Thunderbolts. I think that might be one of my most anticipated movies going to the year. I cannot wait for May to come. Like I'm looking forward to seeing that film. Of course, at my top, it's gonna be Fantastic Four: First Steps. I'm
Yeah.
so excited to see that. I mean, you have a really great cast. You have Pedro Pascal, you have Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, Iman Alden Banarak. Man, I just butchered his name. I am so sorry, but the guy from The Bear,
Gavin
um,
Baker.
uh, cousin.
Cousin.
But I'm looking forward to seeing Fantastic Four. I mean, yes, we have not gotten first footage yet. I'm going to assume we're probably going to get our first trailer probably during the Super Bowl, because they already finished
Uh,
filming.
yeah.
Um, that movie's coming out in about 7 months. So again, I'm assuming Super Bowl probably. Um, but also like I'm very excited. I mean, we did get one kind of tease, and that is the music, and the music is so cool. Like I love it. Like it seems very fitting, and plus it's not going to be like an origin story, right? I think that's a great
Yeah.
thing. I think that's a great decision that they're taking. It's not just another origin story that we got to focus, because we've seen it so many times. Right? We already know what happened,
Mhm.
how they got their powers. Now let's just go deep into their story and see what happened to them, right? Like what, and of course, like I mean, a lot of us are wondering like how it's going to be connected to the MCU. I think they're going to be a whole different multiverse. I'm going to assume, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's maybe one of my top films going into 2025 for sure. Um, Others I have listed are, what's it called? Uh, Life of Chuck. I don't know if you've heard of that film. That's kind of a Stephen King film. But it has a really top-notch cast. It has Tom Hiddleston, Aubrey Plaza. I don't know if Aubrey Plaza's in it, but Karen Gillan from MCU. Um, I know there's more, and I'm like forgetting, but it has like a very massive cast because it's
Interesting.
but it's like Mike Flanagan.
Name sounds familiar.
Like he is the one who created like shows like House of the Fall of the Usher, Midnight Mass. Oh man, what was the one that was really popular and everyone got really into it? There was one that was because there was Midnight Mass, but there was something else that came before that. I cannot even remember. Haunting of the Hill House. He did that.
Oh, Haunting of the Hill House.
Yeah,
Yes.
and Bly Manor because there was also that. So
Yeah.
so he's basically become like the basically the horror aficionado. Like he's honestly kind of like the movie TV. Like he's kind of like the Stephen King
Mm-hmm.
like the movies and TV shows because his stuff is very on the horror side, but it's
Yes.
like very good horror. And now I don't think Life of Chuck is necessarily horror from what I've read. Like I think a lot of people thought it was, but it's not. But the movie did premiere at one of the festivals last year, I think in August, and it got really great reviews. And a lot of the cast members have been saying how great the film is. I think even Stephen King has, seen it himself. I might be wrong. Maybe yes. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's commented about it. But since it is under Mike Flanagan, I have so much trust in it. I cannot wait to see that film, especially given like the early reactions. And I think there was a little bit of confusion whether or not that was going to come out in 2024 or 2025. It is certainly coming out in 2025. I think it might be coming out in May. I don't know if that was decided or not. Again, don't quote me. But regardless, I cannot wait to see that movie because of how incredible the cast looks. So there's that. Also on my list, I have Mission Impossible, The Final
Oh yeah.
Reckoning. So that, I mean, we'll see if this is truly Tom Cruise's last
Mm.
film in the Mission Impossible series, and if so, like how they're gonna try and continue it, because I think that is honestly Paramount's biggest film franchise. So it's like, do you
Mm-hmm.
really want to, lose one of your biggest film franchises? We'll see. What else? I've mentioned Brave New World, Life of Chuck, Lilo and Stitch. I honestly cannot
Lilo
wait to
and
see that.
Stitch.
That's coming out for sure this year. I believe May. I'm just excited because of just the first footage of Stitch.
I'm so
Although we
excited.
have not gotten a full trailer yet, I'm going to assume we're going to get that very soon though, because the movie is coming out this May. But I'm looking forward to seeing it, especially after seeing the first footage of Stitch. Like, I mean, he is so cute. So there's that. There is also Ballerina. So Ballerina is actually a spin-off of the John Wick franchise. That's the one where,
Oh, okay.
Ana de Armas.
Yes.
She's a ballerina, and from what I'm hearing, apparently the film is actually basically John Wick 3.5, so it's in between the timelines of 3 and 4. And Keanu
Okay.
Reeves is in this movie. Apparently he's in it a lot. So I cannot wait to see it. It looks really interesting. The first trailer did come out last year, and it looks really interesting. It's really action packed. So I look forward to that. There's How to Train Your Dragon, the live action movie. We all
Uh-huh.
grew up with it. We both grew up with that. And I mean, the first footage looks great. I look forward to seeing that film. I mean, of course, there's Epic Universe coming out, so what better time to drop that movie than, when Epic Universe opens and launches in Orlando. Cannot wait for that. But the first trailer looks great. I mean, I feel like I'm like having a whole nostalgia again of like just my experience watching that film. So there's that. Of course, Karate Kid Legends. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've watched all the Karate Kid movies, and I've also been following Cobra Kai, where there's the final episodes are coming out next month. And I cannot wait to see this new film because it's both Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan are gonna be in this movie as mentors. So that's gonna be very interesting because that's like bringing in the original and the reboot versions
Yep.
mixed together in this new film. I'm still very curious how that's going to,
Mm-hmm.
be impacted by Cobra Kai because I've been hearing some mixed messages about that because I read I read one story about how it's not supposed to be connected, but then I hear another where it's like, oh, they actually did consult about, and it's like, okay, whatever. But I cannot wait to see that film because again, it's Karate Kid. I feel like we're kind of in a new era where Karate Kid is beloved again,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very nostalgic too. So I really look forward to seeing that. Then I think I have two more. Yes, two more. I have 28 Years Later. I don't know if you've seen the trailer
Mm-hmm.
for that. Holy shit, that trailer! Wow. I got freaking chills. Like hearing that, I was like, holy shit, they really went all out on this trailer, and they didn't even have to spoil anything. Like you still don't know a whole lot what's going on,
Yeah.
but it's like, whoa. this looks really interesting. Plus, I think what I'm so excited about this is that I believe Danny Boyle is directing, and I believe Alex Garland, the guy who has also written Ex Machina and Annihilation, and recently Civil War from last year. Oh shit, I forgot. He has another movie coming out this year with Joseph Quinn. Oh my god, I forgot to put that on my list. I'm gonna mention that in a second. But Alex Garland, I love his stuff. I love his material. I think the only film that I didn't really like as much from him and was called Men. I didn't really like that one, but aside from that, I've honestly enjoyed most of his films. And 28 Years Later looks phenomenal. Like, I know they're doing a couple of trilogy. I think they're doing a whole trilogy on this, so I wonder how that's going to work out. But I cannot wait to see 28 Years Later because that looks really interesting, especially after the presentation of the first trailer. It looks incredible. Yeah. And I want to also mention, I believe the movie's called War. I think it's called War. Hold on. It's the new movie. It's another Alex Garland movie, and it actually has what's his name? I just mentioned it. Joseph Quinn. Hold on. It might not be called War. It's almost, from what I was reading, it was like kind of like a companion piece to like Civil War, but it's not. Or I think that was the thought process. Warfare. It's called Warfare. Yeah. There you go. I was like, I know there's war in the title, but it's called Warfare. So it has Joseph Quinn, Will Poulter, Kit Connor, Cosmo Jarvis, Noah Centineo, Charles Melton. He was in the trailer, I'm pretty sure. It's a really massive cast, so I cannot wait to see that. And then of course the film that I should not forget to say, Superman's coming out this year, and that first trailer was honestly very good. I actually did a reaction for it.
That was so good.
So to this day, it's a scene where, I mean, first off, Crypto. I mean, holy shit. When I saw Crypto, I was like, oh my god, no freaking way. I was like so excited. I was like, oh my god, there's Crypto. And just the way that it started from the beginning to the end, just the style looks very great. The execution looks really good. You can see, what I really like about the trailer is that we're also seeing a side of Superman where people don't like him, and it's like, whoa, like this is kind of reminding me of I mean, I don't want to say The Boys, but it's kind of giving off like a little bit of The Boys vibes. Like, whoa, we're kind of seeing like both sides. There was another movie that also tackled it, but I cannot remember from the top of my head. Just how people are perceiving the superheroes, and then how, because there's just so much pressure on Superman, like you can see how the pressure's getting to him and how he's so tired, and it's like, whoa, like this is a very different Superman I would love to see. And of course, seeing his relationship with Lois Lane. We do get the first footage of Lex Luthor with Nicholas Hoult, and he looks really great as well. I think the one scene that I keep referring back to is like that scene where Superman comes in, grabs a little girl's head and tries to save her. I was like, oh my god, that scene looks wicked. Like, oh my god, like if that's what we're gonna see in terms of like the action, the visuals, like whoa, like I don't know what else they've kept out from the trailers that we're gonna probably see in the movie. So that looks really interesting. Like, I think for the first time, like I'm actually excited for a DCU movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a long time. A long time. But also, I mean, again, the movie could turn out bad for all we know, but as of right now, it looks really good. So those are what I would say are my most anticipated movies going into 2025. Oh, frick, I forgot to mention Wicked.
I was about to say,
Wicked for Good.
I was gonna get on you and be like, how could you not mention Wicked for
Wicked
Good?
Wicked is right there on my list. It's there. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I thought I mentioned Wicked and I didn't, but Wicked for Good for sure. I'm so excited to see how they're gonna conclude the second half of that film. Again, just having seen the performances from Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, brilliant. And I've been hearing a lot of things that they're gonna add a lot more. They're gonna add new music to the second film. I think Ariana Grande just said that she's also adding another a song of hers too. So there's that. But I also heard Starker, so it's like, okay, interesting. And I'm trying to avoid as much of the Wicked spoil as possible. Although I'm kind of already aware of some things because some people will not shut their mouths up. But not you. I know it's not you. You've been very great in trying to not spoil things. It's been difficult, but you've been really great in not spoiling anything. But from other people, no, they could not shut the trap. But I look forward to seeing Wicked. Again, I almost forgot that. That's like literally one of my top five for sure. That's literally my top five for sure that I'm looking forward to seeing. I think that film is going to become $1 billion film, but that's just me. But but yeah, I've listed my top films that I'm looking forward to seeing. I want to hear yours. I don't know if there's any in particular that I may have already mentioned that you want to maybe emphasize, or there's ones I may have actually missed. But I don't know if you had the chance to kind of look at the list as I was kind of giving my most anticipated.
So pretty much for me, it was pretty much everything you said, almost everything you said. Some I haven't heard of, but I mean, obviously, my number one is Wicked for Good.
Wicked.
I
Wicked.
mean,
I figured.
I can't. That's the second half of that musical is so great. It has my favorite songs. You know, like like they said, they're adding new songs. I can't wait to see how they're incorporating that into it. Um, but yeah, I am so excited for Wicked for Good. And then obviously, of course, Superman. Literally all basically the Marvel, the DC, because I saw Superman with my dad when
Mm-hmm.
it came out when I was little and everything. So seeing that, obviously, the DC ones. I mean, the Marvel. I'm really excited for Thunderbolts. I think, like you said, I'm more excited for Thunderbolts than I am the new Captain America.
Yeah.
Even though I am glad that Anthony Mackie's getting his own movie. Because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we both know that panel from Comic-Con with him, Tom Holland, and Sebastian Stan. If you remember,
Yep.
it's like, oh, sorry, Falcon
Yep.
doesn't have his own movie. I'm
Yep.
so glad he's getting one. Um, but Thunderbolts looks so good just because I love I can't remember her name. What's her name? Um
Yelena.
Yelena, yeah. Just because I love her. I'm just excited for that mainly. But
Mm-hmm.
looking at other oh, obviously Lilo and Stitch. I'm looking at
Obviously,
the
I was gonna
movies
say, I'm
again.
like, you can't miss Lilo and Stitch.
I was looking, I was like, Lilo and Stitch. Obviously, I'm a big Stitch girl. Like I have,
Mm-hmm.
I Stitch. He is number one. So
And
that is
I
thing.
just gifted you a very
Yes.
incredible
It is
blanket, custom
truly
made
one of the best
blanket.
blankets. I don't even want to use it because it's so good, but everybody I've shown to loves it. They're like, "That's so cool." Um, but yeah, I love Stitch. I will be so excited for that. But one movie you didn't mention, that I'm like scrolling through this list is actually the F1 movie that comes out. I think it's
The one
going
with
to be on
Brad Pitt,
Apple TV.
right? The one with
Yes,
Brad Pitt. Yeah.
the one with Brad Pitt. So obviously, I'm a big F1 girl. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Which I'm not
um,
surprised because the fact that you're mentioning it, I'm not surprised because I know you're aware of the racing, and it's like
oh yeah.
that makes sense. Like that tracks. So, but
Yes,
go on.
yeah, definitely before this I was watching the Formula E racing that was happening in Mexico.
Mm.
Um but yeah, so I'm really excited for that fun movie. Granted,
Have you
like it's
seen the first trailer? There was a teaser
oh
that came out last
yes,
summer.
I mean
Yeah.
I've seen just like by watching the races, everything that happens. Like,
Yeah.
just seeing all of it. They have their own Instagram page for like the actual
Mm-hmm.
driver. I think it's very interesting how they're gonna do it. Like it's a very big I guess it's controversial kind of in like the F1 community. Like a lot of, the diehards, like the men who have seen F1 for their whole lives, like they don't like it. Some of the newer people like it because I mean, I will say like I got into F1 because of the Netflix show Drive to Survive.
Oh, okay.
But then and then, it's a stereotype of the girls only get into it because of Netflix. They like the drama. The drivers can
Mm.
basically be GQ models. I mean, yeah, those are incorporating it, but I've been into cars because my engineering brain takes over, and I've did racing cars up in UF too. So that's like, but I want to see what they're doing just to see how it all ties together because every race weekend we would see clips of Brad Pitt driving on the track. We'd see
Yeah.
his podium wins, and we're just like, all right, we can piece it together. So, what are we going to do? And especially with having the actual F1 drivers and having like the engineers, and it's like the team principals all actually in the movie. It's like, all right, who's the good actor? Who's going to be on the screen time more? So I think that movie is gonna be very fun. I feel like it's gonna do. I mean, it's Brad Pitt, but to me, I feel like it's gonna do bad. But
Well,
I'm
I've
excited.
heard that the movie is very expensive. Now, it's rumored that the
Yes.
budget's like 300 million, which is insane. I mean, it might be a little inflated, or maybe the cost might even be more now because I think they've had to do a little bit more reshoots.
Hmm.
Because I think the movie got delayed so many times. But again, I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote on me. Again, I'm just. I think I've heard that there was supposed to came out last year and it didn't. I think got moved. But I know it is a very expensive movie because, as you said, they were trying to do a lot of the filming pretty much live during the actual like
Yeah.
F1 season, right? So, but at least from having seen the first trailer, because again, it wasn't really a trailer per se. It was more like a teaser. I think like it was a 1 minute
Hmm.
teaser. It looks very interesting. You can get the sense of the thrill and suspense out of it for sure. Um, I mean, I do want to see a little bit more and kind of get a little bit of a better gist of what's going on. But I also feel like a lot of what we know about F1 is not far from a lot of films that we've already seen before, like Gran Turismo and
Hmm.
Ford vs Ferrari. I mean, Ford vs Ferrari. I mean, that
It was
still is a
great.
movie that I such a great film. I mean, I remember still going into that film having no complete idea what it's about, other than the fact that I knew it had Matt Damon and Christian Bale in it. And I was like, okay, like I had not even seen a single trailer seeing that film. Not a single trailer. I just, it was like, oh, the movie's it's at my theater. Okay, why not? Let's go check it out and see it. And I mean, at first when I saw it was like a race car film, I was like, oh boy, I'm probably not gonna like this. And then, oh boy, was I wrong. I was like having shivers through my whole body watching that whole film. I was like, oh my god, this is so incredible. It's just such a great film. And Gran Turismo, I mean, I had the same feelings as well. Like, yeah, that one's also kind of based on a true story as well, and that one was
Hmm.
still really fun to watch. So, if I can get the sense of that with with Ford vs Ferrari and Gran Turismo, if I can get the same feeling with F1, I feel like that will still be a very enjoyable film regardless. Of course, like again, if the rumor film budget is what is expected or is being reported as is, it's going to be very difficult to
Hmm.
make up a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because having a $300 million budget is not very easy. You can ask Ridley Scott about that because, like, I mean, for instance, I think Gladiator 2 ended up hold up because I know Gladiator 2 was like $250 million, and I think right now it's probably gonna stop around 450. I think it just passed 450 million this week globally, so it's not going to be a successful film because it didn't reach the break even point. And that tells you like expensive films are very hard to kind of recoup in terms of the box office
Yeah.
because you have to be double because you have to reach the double of that budget plus even more because there's going to be the marketing costs, and then on top of that you now have to try and get into the profitable margin, so it's not very easy. But I mean, unless you're like an Avatar or if you're like an MCU
Yeah.
movie, it's very difficult to hit to hit the box office when you have a 200 million plus budget. I think Mufasa may have been. Let me see. What was Mufasa's budget? Because if it was one, oh yeah, so Mufasa has a $200 million budget, but I think that film is doing very well right now. I think it's about to go into profit margins starting this week because it just hit 500 million. So that means
Ooh.
that that's about to crack the break. Like it has at least just cracked the break even, or it's already past the break even. So now it's gonna go into profit margins, which I feel like it probably will. So that movie is gonna be a success at any point this week. But F1, let me see. Let me just see what their budget was just to be sure. Okay, so there isn't a reported budget, but I think there was a rumor that it was 300 million. But so a lot of the people behind the scenes have refuted that. So, but if again, regardless what that budget is, like I'm gonna assume like if it's not 300, it's probably still gonna be in a very expensive
Yeah.
margin.
I mean, they flew around the
Because
world for these races. Like,
exactly,
there's gonna be money.
exactly. So it's still got to be a very expensive budget regardless. So it's gonna be very interesting because F1, I feel like it would work. It makes sense here in the states. Like I don't know how it's like worldwide though. So that's gonna be like a big question mark. Let me see how much Ford versus Ferrari was because I feel like that film may or may have not done well. Let's see. It did well. So I mean, it was 97 million in terms of budget, and the box office 225. So it's kind of like straggling into profit margins, but yeah, I mean it's not one that a lot of people would see depending
Yeah.
on again where the territories are. So but yeah, no, it makes sense. But still, I'm not surprised that you put F1 because again, that is something that you do enjoy, just the
Hmm.
actual
Race.
driving, the racing. And I mean, I think, I mean, although I'm not too involved with like the whole race driving, coverage for it, I am a little bit more informed of how it works now, just because I've seen a little bit more of these racing films, and it's like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm starting to understand that there's like different lanes and everything. So, but yeah, but that's the whole point. But yeah, I mean, was there anything else that you wanted to also include in your most anticipated, or was just like there's a little bit more, or
I would say looking at this list, one that I completely forgot was coming out is Freakier Friday. Um,
yes,
because I was,
nostalgia.
yeah, Freaky Friday. I think like that was like the movie I had on repeat as like a kid. Like I mean, I looking at it, I was 3 when it came out, but like I loved Freaky Friday so
It's
much.
such a
So
classic.
it's like one of the best movies. It's great. I think I really that's where I wanted to, I think, become like my dream of becoming like a rock, like a guitarist in a band. I
Uh
truly
huh.
think was because of Lindsay Lohan. I think that's where it came from. But yeah, I mean, I'm just so excited for that movie. I'm hoping that again, it's like one of those things that's like, I'm hoping it's good because has been so long, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like, it's more nostalgia. So it's like, I know like kids now are gonna be like kids in high school weren't born, when this
Yep.
movie came out. So they're like,
Yep.
oh, probably gonna be like, what the heck is Freaky Friday? And I'm be like, listen, guys, it's a masterpiece.
And not
So
only that, but they have such a great song in there. It's like what was it called? Take Me Away.
yes, that's
Oh
the
my
last
god,
one you're
such a
saying.
bop.
That's
It was such a bop.
such a bop. So
Like
yeah,
I
that's pretty
still listen
much
to it.
no, it's so good because the way they did it, and I mean, just like everything in it when she was playing, but Jamie Lee Curtis was playing in the background. Oh, it's so good. That movie's great. It's so good.
I mean, I look forward to seeing it too. Like I think for us, like Lindsay Lohan was such a key part of our childhood.
Oh yeah,
Because it wasn't just like Freaky Friday. There was also what was it? There was
The Parent Trap.
Clue, The Parent Trap, of course. There was one film she did with Brenda Song. I can't remember what it's called.
Wendy
I feel like
Wu, Homecoming Warrior. Is it that one?
no, that's a different one. No, no, no. There was this was when Brenda was younger. Like she was like a kid. And she did a film with Lindsay Lohan. It was like a Disney film. I think it was like Clue or Clueless or something. It was like almost. It was like a miss. It was like
Oh,
a kid mystery kind of film where they were investigating something. There was that. Of course, Mean Girls. We can't miss Mean Girls. Like, come on, Mean
yeah.
Girls
Mean Girls.
with
Oh
Lindsay
yeah,
Lohan.
I looked it up. It is Get a Clue. Yes, you're right.
Get a clue. I knew it. I was like,
The
it had like
original.
clue. It had like clue in the title. I was like, it had a clue in the title. Of course, Mean Girls. I think that's the most iconic one out there.
Hmm.
Of course, now she's definitely been having this like resurgence recently. Now that she's kind of getting back into movies. And so it's just great to see that we are getting Freakier Friday. I mean, do you remember? Did you watch Acolyte? No.
I
Yes.
never saw like the last episode.
But do
So
you know the character Kymir, right? The stranger Kymir.
no.
The remember that stranger guy in who was like talking to May and Osha, and he was trying to get them to go to the dark side. The
Jason
stranger.
from The Good Place.
What?
Jason from The Good Place.
Oh, that's how you know him.
Yes. The only way. I'm like,
I know him
yes.
as Kymir. I know him
No,
as Kymir.
Jason from The Good
He's
Place.
gonna be in Freakier Friday, by the way. He
Oh
plays, I
no way.
believe, he plays like Lindsay Lohan's fiance or soon to
Oh,
be husband.
that's
And
great.
yeah, I mean, I love him. I mean, after seeing him in Acolyte, I mean, yes, the Acolyte was not great. Let's be honest, the Acolyte was not great. I mean, it had potential in the beginning, but then they fumble so hard at the end. I was like, ugh. But one of the two great things about the show happens to be the Asians. The two Asians. The two Asians really kind of made this. Well, I mean, I love. I mean, I did like. Crap. What was her name? The girl who played Laura in Deadpool Wolverine. She was good. She played Jackie. Daphne King. There you go, Daphne King. She was
Mhm.
great, but then we know what happens, and it's like, ah, it's like you got rid of all the best people.
Yeah.
But yeah, the great thing about it, of course, was like Lee Jong Jae as Soul, and then of course Manny Jacinto as Kymir slash the Stranger. I mean, he really stole the show. I was just like, oh, if we can get a second season just with him, I would be down for Alkalite season 2. um, But I of course Acolyte got canceled, but I do want to
Mhm.
see more of kind of Manny Jacinto because he did such a great job playing Chimera. It just sucks that when they were finally getting to the potential of the show, it got canceled, and it's like they wasted so much time with the development that we saw in season 1. It's like we could have gotten this and we didn't get this, and so but I'm glad to hear that he's gonna be in Freakier Friday. When I kept learning about them, I'm like, oh my god, like at least we're gonna see him again. Of course we're gonna see Chad Michael Murray in Freakier Friday
Yeah.
as well.
Oh,
i
that's
i
funny.
bel I'm pretty sure he played maybe Lindsay Lohan's like husband the first, like from the first, like because again she already has a kid or something, but like it's
Oh,
her
okay.
story is gonna be like similar to Jamie Lee Curtis's like story in like the first film where it's like she
Oh,
has
okay.
a daughter and then she's gonna get remarried again or something. I don't know. There's some similarities to like the plot. So I think Chad Michael Murray's character is gonna be back, of course. I think like just again, there's a whole lot of things that are going on. We don't know exactly like who is getting swapped. I think there's gonna be multiple swaps from what I've heard, as
Okay.
like a leak. I don't know if it was a leak or not, but still, I'm looking forward to seeing Freakier Friday. I mean, that's that one of the reasons I didn't put it in my most anticipated is just because it has been so long too. It's like,
Mhm.
can it really replicate kind of the nostalgia of like what we felt in the first film? Because the first film was great for what it is,
Mhm.
but I don't know if they can be able to replicate kind of that vibe with the second film. But I'm gonna keep my eyes open. I still looking forward to seeing it. I think I just had to see the first trailer just to kind of get an impression of it. We only got like an image, so but still that makes sense. But is there any other film that you want to add into that, or was that the last one?
That's pretty much it.
So yeah,
Those were it. Yeah.
I mean, still, I mean, these are some. I mean, that's just kind of the testament of what great films we're gonna probably have coming up in 2025. Again, because a lot of it, because of the situation with the strikes, a lot of the films got pushed to this year or next year. So that's why we're gonna have so many films coming out this year. I mean, a couple of other films that we didn't mention, of course, but are coming out this year are gonna be the Jurassic World Rebirth.
Mm.
Uh, there's gonna be Snow White. I know that one's a little bit more controversial.
Yeah.
I'm not too enthused about that. I actually did a reaction video for the trailer, and I was not very impressed. Just so you know, um, just so you know, there's a reason. Um, the Seven Doors are so odd. I swear to God,
Yeah,
that's
they're really
going to
hard.
ruin it. There's gonna be more for sure, of course. Like, I mean, again, there's a lot of films coming out this year. A lot of it is very sequel franchise based, like very heavy on that. So, which is it doesn't really come as a surprise. I mean, that's just kind of how the movie industry is are like nowadays. So it's like you can't really blame a lot of it, but still, I look forward to seeing a lot of the films that are coming out this year. But yeah, I think we can move on just a little bit. I think we can just talk a little bit about things that have been happening in the news. I feel because again, there's just so much that happened after we
Mhm.
kind of took like that long break
Yeah.
back in September. Or, what was it, August, September? I mean, for one thing, we know that Chris Evans is coming back
Yeah.
to the MCU. I swear, when I saw that coverage, I was like flipping out. I was like, oh my god, Chris Evans is coming back. Oh, what a surprise. I mean, honestly, I don't think I was really that surprised because, like, you can't really just have Robert Downey Jr. come back and then not have
Mhm.
Chris Evans come back. Like, let's be honest. He's coming back, and so, but it just needed that push, and we got that push. Now, of course, it's gonna be the question of, is he coming back as like Steve Rogers, or is he coming back as like Johnny Storm, because he kind of did come
Mhm.
back as Johnny Storm in Deadpool Wolverine, or is he going to be
Mhm.
in a multiverse Steve Rogers, or the older version of Steve that came back after taking that long break? I mean, there's so many ways that this could happen with how Chris Evans could come back. Who knows? Um, but yeah, we know that Chris Evans is coming back in MCU. I want to hear your thoughts about that too, because I mean, I would, because I don't know if we actually really discussed so too much about it, because I don't think we did. I mean, I think aside from
No.
like, oh, Chris Evans is coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. Of course, it's like, the writers, it's basically like, all right, I want to see what we're doing because
Mm-hmm.
there's so many ways that we can take everything. I do lean to the fact that it's going to be a multiverse Steve Rogers. Because I mean, this whole Doom situation has to be in the multiverse in general. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
how else they're gonna do any of this.
Yeah.
Um, I just hope that no matter what they do it as and how they bring it back, it doesn't destroy the Steve Rogers we know, because now we're getting a new Captain America. I hope it's like
Yeah.
not overshadowing Anthony Mackie's Captain America and
Right.
all of
Right.
that. But I mean, I'm excited. Anything they do, it has to be good, and I really hope it's good. So.
And you kind of bring up a really great point with the Anthony Mackie situation, because it's like you have this movie coming out next month with Captain America: Brave New World. It's literally coming out next month, like honestly, literally next month. I'm looking at the date right now, and it's like, wow, yeah, I look forward to seeing Sam Wilson's version, especially because the film is going to have Harrison Ford. Like, oh, holy crap,
Mm-hmm.
you have one of the greatest actors in this film. But then it's like, oh, by the way, Chris Evans is coming back as Captain America, and it does certainly sour the
Mm-hmm.
anticipation for Anthony Mackie, because like we've been, hyping up his, Captain America, and we even went through a whole show
Mm-hmm.
about this, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, let's just sour the whole, homecoming
Mm-hmm.
for Anthony Mackie because Chris Evans is coming back. And I mean, and not long ago, I mean, I believe he was just asked recently about, promoting for Captain America: Brave New World, and then hearing the news about, when RDJ announced that he was going to be playing, Doom. And it's like, and he kind of felt a little shaken because it's like, oh, I didn't even know this was going to happen. Now, like, this kind of killed a lot of the vibes. And I mean, I don't blame him for it, because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you thought that you were going to lead a whole new, next phase of the MCU, then just to see that, oh, by the way, we're bringing back one of the biggest actors in the MCU, just
Yeah.
because we got to, like, keep the flow going. It's like, oh, what a way to kind of kill the mood and, kill the vibes for, the next Captain America. So I can't even imagine what, the whole Chris Evans news would have meant. But still, I mean, that shouldn't affect my opinions about Captain America: Brave New World. I mean, I will say that going into Captain America: Brave New World, I'm less worried about the fact that Anthony Mackie's taking over than more so the
Mm-hmm.
execution that I've seen so far. Because I think,
Yeah.
I will say, I'm a tad bit underwhelmed by some of the previews that we've gotten for Brave New World.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie, because I just feel like it's trying so hard to be another copycat of Winter Soldier, which is totally fine. Like, I mean, there's a reason why the Winter Soldier is honestly one of my favorite MCU movies of all time. There's like no argument about it. It is one of the best MCU movies out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I still remember going into that film, I wasn't really excited about it. I didn't really care for it. But then the movie came out, and I suddenly was like, whoa! Like I went to a
This is
whole
great.
different world. Whole
Yeah.
different world, right? This is so great. The twist, the Hydra twist. It's like, holy shit! Like, who would have thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of like changed my appreciation for Captain America and Bucky, because before I wasn't even a Captain America fan, and then after that I became both a Captain America and Bucky fan, because they really amped up the whole, storytelling, and just this really beautiful, because like even though it is very focused on this, the fact that the Hydra was hidden this whole time and they've been operating, in the back seat this whole time and are now finally somehow coming back into the limelight. I think one of
Mm-hmm.
the greatest thing about it is the underlining, friendship between Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes, and
Mm-hmm.
how that's been a key, how that becomes very key to the growth for Captain America, and how that also plays a big part in how he changes, especially after having coming back, from, the freezing ice 70 years later, right?
Yes.
So I really love Winter Soldier. I mean, it makes sense why they're trying to keep those kinds of vibes, and you can see where they're trying to make it very much like Winter Soldier, with like the theme and the tone, and you
Mm-hmm.
know the fact that there's something, something being hidden. Like, you can tell there's some kind of
Yeah.
secret.
There's something in that movie
There's
because the
something.
trailer's just kind of repeating itself. They're not
Yeah,
telling us everything.
they're not telling us everything. And then of course I think the new trailer, the fact that, Asai, I think his character was Asaya Bradley, one of the super soldiers. Like, you remember he was in the Falcon Winter Soldier,
Yes.
and he was one of the super soldiers. The fact that it seems as though that he was brainwashed, or that he was mind controlled, and that he's being framed for this, it's like, oh, okay, so we're kind of going back a little bit to what happened in Winter Soldier, and a little bit of what happened in Civil War, because we did kind of hear a little bit about these super soldiers, right? So there
Yes.
is something happening behind the scenes. Like, okay, there's some sort of secret. We don't know what it is yet. It's probably gonna be uncovered. We know that there's gonna be a Red Hulk. Red Hulk is coming. But it's like, okay, but are we going too deep down into Winter Soldier vibes? Because I do want it to be its own identity as well, and I fear that that's going to become an issue going into Captain America: Brave New World. So that's why I'm kind of trying to be a little bit reserved in my expectations for it, just because
Mhm.
who knows what's gonna happen. Plus, there's a lot of these reshoots that were going on, and
Yeah.
it's like I don't know how I feel right now because a lot of that is giving me a little bit of a concern. I mean, another thing is that Daredevil Born Again is coming out as well. I cannot wait to see that. Oh my god, I have to really do a rewatch of all of season 1, 2, and 3 because holy crap, like I cannot wait to see Brave New World. Not Brave New World, sorry, Born Again. But yeah, that's just my thoughts about it. I mean, I don't know if you want to add something to the whole Captain America spiel, but that's just my.
No, I mean you've pretty much covered it with that. I agree with your spiel, to be honest.
Yeah, sorry, my I think my mic just went off for a little bit. But yeah, that's just my thing. What else can we talk about? I mean, the Odyssey. We now know that Christopher Nolan is adapting the Odyssey. That was such a big break. I remember I was like, the Odyssey, like Homer's Odyssey.
Yeah.
Because I read that in for me, I read that in my freshman year of high school.
Yep. That was
Same?
That was our summer reading assignment from middle school to 9th grade.
Didn't you
for
do
me.
IB?
Unfortunately.
So I think it was I think that was an IB thing because I was an IB and we had to read it too. So I think it was just an IB, like a worldwide IB thing where everyone had to read Homer's Odyssey. The fact that they're
they're making it a movie.
Christopher Nolan's making a movie.
I know. I have so many mixed reactions because okay, look, IB helped me get to where I am now. But like I've been so traumatized by that program that any book that we ever read, solely except In Cold Blood, truly love that movie, love that story. I can't. Like I cannot go see a movie about the Odyssey just because I disliked reading that book so much.
Girl, same.
I'm just gonna be like, everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, Christopher Nolan. I'm like, that's great for Christopher Nolan. I am traumatized analyzing every single page and emotion that this man did in this book. I cannot. The Cyclops can't do it. I mean, like, no, I'm done. It's over. I don't know if I'm gonna see it. I mean, I might.
It's like
really
we let that trauma be in the past, and now we're bringing it back to the present. But I mean,
why
honestly,
are we bringing it back?
But honestly, though, when you look at it, if there's one director who's very capable of making a story like this, it would be Christopher Nolan. I mean, I think he's proven himself enough. Exactly, he's proven himself enough that he is capable of telling such rich storytelling like the Odyssey. I mean, we saw that with Oppenheimer, right? Because Oppenheimer was also based on a book, and he was able to truly capture just kind of how ominous and very startling it is just to see kind of how an invention made by someone like Robert Oppenheimer, and see how that just to see kind of the effects of that and how that even haunts someone like Oppenheimer as a result of his creation. Yes, it was used for, a war at the time, but then it's like we have not seen the implications of how this could be very catastrophic. And I think that Christopher Nolan does a really great job of that kind of storytelling. I mean, I would imagine that he will, probably give his, interpretation, of course. We still don't know the casting. I mean, yes, we do have an idea of the casting, but we don't know who's playing what. I know for the last month or so, people are trying to decipher who's playing what based on the casting list, because you have Matt Damon, you have Tom Holland, you have Zendaya, you have Charlize Theron, you have Lupita Nyong'o, you have Anna, Annie Hathaway, because I think she's trying to be called by Annie, right? Annie Hathaway.
Yeah, Hathaway.
Annie Hathaway. There was one more I forgot, and I think they're supposed to be a key role, but still, it's a very Robert Pattinson. Oh my god, I forgot Robert Pattinson. Very packed cast. It's like who's playing what? I can't remember. A lot of people believe that Charlize Theron's playing Calypso, from what I've been hearing. But again,
that makes sense.
It makes sense, right? But people are trying to predict the casting. We don't have like an official casting of who's playing what, although we can make some assumptions, of course. But it seems like a really cool idea. I mean, depending on how he's going to execute it. That movie's supposed to be coming out next year, of course, so there's a lot of time. And I believe filming is going to be sometime this summer. So, but still, like, I mean, very interesting because I think because there was so much anticipation, there was just so much discussion going on in the movie sphere. It's like, oh, Christopher Nolan's casting all these people, like what is he making? Like there was even a rumor at one point that it was gonna be like a vampire movie, and we're like, wow, that's a really sudden that's a really sudden speculation. But we now know that it's gonna be the Odyssey that he's making. Very bold choice. But again, I'm not very surprised that someone like Christopher Nolan would want to try and give it a try, right? So And but yeah, I mean, as I said, I've read it long ago. I'm probably gonna have to now reread it because it's been such a long time.
Oh my gosh,
Because
you're gonna
again,
reread that thing? I'm
I'm
actually
gonna
going to go
have to.
see if I can find it in my bookshelf now.
You, I swear to
I think
God.
I still have it.
Well, I didn't
But
buy the book. I had to like rent it because I think every student, because we read it like in my first semester of freshman year. So we all had like the book was distributed to everybody, and
oh, okay.
yeah, so like everybody was reading it, but then we had to return it at some point, right? So, but hold on, sorry, I'm trying to get my throat together, but it's such a long time because I think we were kind of like because of the reading portion, it was like I was reading it and I was not reading it. It's like, oh, I forgot so much plots. I was like, it's been so long since I read it. It's like almost, it's been over 10 years.
Whoa,
Crap.
oh my gosh, it has
It's been 10 years for me
Yeah, no,
since
for
I
me
read that
too.
book. Oh my
That's
god.
disgusting.
I know. Oh my
Ew.
god. What in the world? And then now I'm looking at it. I'm like looking at the year. I'm like, shit. Like I read that over 10 years ago.
Yeah. Oh my god, I found it.
Oh, you found the
Ew.
book?
I did, unfortunately.
Oh my god.
Wow,
No
there's
way.
so many annotations in this thing.
Oh,
There's so
right.
much
That's absolutely great.
trauma.
Brilliant. It's bringing back so much trauma, huh?
Wow.
Oh well.
So much
But
trauma.
I mean, hey, we're getting the movie now, so we can reread on the whole spiel of what happened in that book because it's been such a long time. I swear to God, it's
Yeah.
been such a long time for me since I've actually read that book. But yeah, I mean, we can move past that now. Because because I mean, we were probably gonna get more developments soon. Of course, I'm trying to see what else has happened or if anything happened at least last week. Because like, again, it's the news. I mean, did you see the Hey Dwayne part? Because I know, okay, because we were watching the Golden Globes. I mean, we were texting, and I believe we went to
Mhm.
bed before the end of the show.
I did.
So did you see like the Hey Dwayne thing that happened at the end? I was like, oh my god, is
I
he
don't
trying to start some trouble?
I don't think I saw anything.
Yeah. So at the event, he was like presenting like the award for like cinnamon achievement or something. It's like a stupid award to give. I think it's just a freebie to give for like the biggest films. And right before that, he's like looking at Dwayne Johnson. He's like, "Hey, Dwayne," and you can just see how cringy it is and very awkward because it's like the whole feud that happened between them, and it's like
Wait, no. Who are we talking about?
Vin Diesel and Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson.
Vin Diesel was at the Golden Globes?
Yeah, he was presenting an award.
No way.
Yeah, he
Oh,
was
I did
presenting
not
an
know that was a
award.
thing.
And then on the stage, he's like, "Hey, Dwayne," and then I'm like, I
Oh
remember
my
just putting my
god.
face. I'm like, what did he just do?
Like, there's a time and a place. This is not the time nor the place, sir.
I was so worried. I was like, oh, is something gonna break out right now? And I was like, are we gonna have another Will Smith moment? I was like, thank God, nothing
Oh.
happened. But you can just see kind of Dwayne just awkwardly smiling, and then like the smile's gone, and I was like, ugh. It's like, why would you do this on national TV? It's like, are you trying to like, make a very awkward night for everyone? Like, no, please, no, please, no,
Yeah.
please, no. Oh, okay. I mean, there's something that did happen. I mean, apparently Disney got hit with a copyright lawsuit for Moana 2. So
No
that
way.
happened.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently there's a guy. Hold up. I read this story over the weekend. So there was a guy. His name was something. Buck Woodell. So some guy named Buck Woodell. He's an animator, and apparently, actually, previously, submitted like a film similar to Moana, like, or at least like when he presented it, like the whole like concept idea. I think it was called Bucky. The whole concept idea was like very similar to Moana 2. So some of the things that he's accusing that was stolen from his product was like the setting of the Polynesian village. A teenager goes on an ocean adventure, that involves the spirits of ancestors manifesting as animals. The actual adventure starts with the turtle, the symbolism of the necklace, the supporting characters with having like the tattoos, and so on and so forth. So he's now saying that Disney may have stolen this idea from him because he had actually presented to them at one point as like a pitch or something like that. So that happened this past week. Like I remember reading that, I was like, Really? I was like, whoa. But apparently he couldn't do a lawsuit before because I think just like the window or something had passed. But now that the second movie has come out, like that's when he decided to kind of put
Makes
up
sense.
this lawsuit. I think that's what happened. I mean, don't quote me. I may
Mm-hmm.
have gotten some details wrong because again, this was like over the weekend. I just did a quick read, but there is like a copyright lawsuit being presented, and now we're gonna see what happens with that.
Interesting.
What else? What else? What else? What else? Mm, I mean, Sebastian Stan won a Golden Globe. I don't know if you remember that.
As he should. As he should.
I did see a couple new movies this past week. I actually enjoyed Better Man. I really liked it. It's a good movie.
I did
That's
not
the
know that movie existed.
well, okay, so it's like the one with the monkey, like the
Don't
it's like the Robbie
like
Williams movie,
the.
and huh?
Oh, okay. Yes, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, the Robbie Williams movie where instead of just doing like a straight biopic, he decides to like imagine his persona as like a monkey.
As a monkey. Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one.
as a monkey. And so um yeah, that one was a really good film. I mean, I can't believe people are skipping out on it, but it also makes sense because Robbie Williams, like he's very popular internationally,
Yes.
like in the UK, like Europe, but he never really broke big here. And I think that's why a lot of people don't really know who Robbie Williams is, and so that's why the film's not doing so well. But I think in general though the film is not going to do well because they put so much money into the VFX for the monkey bits that
Mm-hmm.
probably ballooned the budget because apparently like the rumored or reported budget for it was like $100 million, which is like
Oh
whoa, that's
gosh.
a lot. That's a lot for a musical biopic, and that means that if you want to go into profitable margins, you got to make like at least 300 million, which is not going to happen,
Yeah.
especially in a dry season like January, because January is a very dry month. But even then, I saw the film. And it's really good. I was surprised how good it was, and it's still a musical biopic, but I actually enjoyed it. It sucks because like it could have had potential had it been under
Mm-hmm.
different circumstances, but for anyone who's hasn't seen it, I would recommend go and checking out Better Man. It's a really good film. It's not doing so well at the box office though. I actually checked. Apparently, it only made 1 million here in the U.S. That's like terrible.
Wow.
So there's that. Den of Thieves became the number one movie this week, so that breaks
Mm-hmm.
Lionsgate's horrible. Because I don't know if you heard anything about Lionsgate, because you know how Lionsgate had some really terrible films that came out in 2024. You had like Borderlands, you had The Crow. Almost all their
Yeah.
films kind of bombed at the box office. Like they weren't doing so well. And so it's everyone's like, whoa, Lionsgate got hit so hard in the worst way possible. But now, this week, they for the first time in a while, they actually had a number one movie for Den of Thieves 2, the second film that just came out.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I think it's like the first number one movie since The Hunger Games. Like The Hunger Games Battle
Yeah.
versus Snakes. I was like, whoa.
I was about to
I was
say, I
like,
was like, don't worry, give them a year. Susan Collins will bring them back to number one in the box office.
well, I mean, yes, of course, we're gonna have the new Hunger Games movie. Plus, the book is coming out this year.
Oh my
It's
gosh, I
in
forgot
three
about that.
months. It's coming
Oh,
out in 3 months. Oh my god, I cannot wait because holy crap, I cannot wait to hear. I just cannot wait to read Hamish's story, and then I mean, of course, like so on my channel, I've actually gone very deep onto the Hunger Games lore because I know so much
mm-hmm.
about it, ins and outs. Because I've read all the books, I've watched all the movies. I was like obsessed with the whole franchise, and I still am kind of. I even
Mm-hmm.
read Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, so I actually knew a lot about the content. And now it's just like, wow, I cannot wait for the next movie to come out because now I can also do my breakdown for that because it's like this is like one of the rare times where I actually know so much about a franchise. It's like I'm excited to share my knowledge with everyone else. But I'm so excited for Hamish's story that's coming out. I mean, I already know a lot of bits and pieces of what's at least been detailed from the books because Katniss mentions a lot about his
Yeah.
Hunger Games in the book. I believe it was Catching Fire, where she mentioned those details because I believe she was kind of like watching some snippets of his Hunger Games in that film. I mean, sorry, in that book. I don't think the film went too deep into it, to be
No.
honest, but at least in the book, they do kind of go into details about Hamish's Hunger Games because remember how they're kind of viewing a lot of footage from past Hunger Games and
Yes.
like So I think how she was able to give a little bit more context of what happened during Haymitch's game, because he was a previous winner and he was in the 50th Hunger Games. So that was like one of the that was one of the Court of Quells. So cannot wait to see that, or at least read it, because the book is coming out this year. The movie's coming out next year. I'm pretty sure we're probably gonna start getting some casting details later in the year once the book does release.
Yes.
Because again, I don't think they would go so quick into doing casting stuff. So, but I'm excited. I think you've ordered, right?
No, I have not pre-ordered it, but I will be there like when doors open. I'm already look, there's a new book coming out in 2 weeks that I'm already like, I told one of my coworkers, I was like, if I leave during lunch, I'm going to Barnes and Nobles. So that might be a repeat.
Did you hear about a series that Netflix just bought the rights for? I think it's
Twisted Love.
Twisted Love, yeah. So we were just recording that, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure Maya probably has heard about this book, because apparently it's like even more something with the story, like a bit more twistier than Bridgerton. I'm like, really? Even twistier than Bridgerton? I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that I have not read the book. I will say there's different levels of, reasons of why I did not see Nosferatu, kind of those similar levels. So that book is I mean, everyone loves it. I've heard so many good things about it. I feel like it's definitely a show movie on Netflix that you do not watch with your parents.
Well, not as if I
That
watched
kind of
Bridgerton
thing.
with my
Like it's like,
parents.
do not you watch that alone. So, but yeah,
Clearly.
I'm excited to see how they do that. All these book adaptations I'm excited to see. Yeah, Twisted Love's a big one that's coming out. Everyone's so excited. That is I want to say it's a 4 or 5 book series that is going to be really good. And that was also, I don't know, you've obviously heard about it. The Housemaid got announced that they're doing, and they're already filming, because I've seen so many TikToks about it.
Yeah, they just
So
recently posted a video for it.
Yes, I saw when like the whole cast was doing it, and I absolutely loved it. That also is not a book I have read, but I do have tons of friends who have read it, and that is like their favorite book. So that is a book I will have to read. But that's also like a big, I guess I think it's coming out on Christmas Day this year. So that's like a big other book movie that's coming out.
Yeah, I was taking a look at it, because I think as I was like, reading about it, there was a whole bunch of like series for the Twisted stories. I was like, oh, so there's like, it's not just Twisted Love, but there's like sequels. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Right,
there's like 5 books. I think each book goes off of a character in the previous one, if I don't know. I could be totally wrong, but I thought that's what it does.
No, it makes sense. I'm trying to see what else came out, because again, it's been the first 2 weeks of 2025 have been a little bit slow on the news, and again, because of the whole situation in California, that probably also played a part in some of the the slow news the past week. So I'm just trying to see what else has come up. I mean, there were some trailers that came out. Go ahead.
I know this is not movie related, but it's award season. I heard that the Grammys are also being pushed back because of this.
Grammys. They've also extended the Oscar nomination voting process because of the whole California situation. So now the Oscar nominations will be announced on January 19th now instead of the 17th. So I believe that's a Sunday. So that's another one. Okay, I got a couple more. Okay, so there was a couple of news that came out in the movie sphere. I'll mention in a second. Okay, I'm just double checking a couple more stories. Sonic and Mufasa are doing well at the box office as usual. Wicked is doing tremendous at the box office.
As they should.
I'm not sure about whether or not the SAGs are gonna get moved. We'll see about that. But so far the only things that have been impacted or anything in the January schedule. So, it makes sense because there's a lot of people who've lost their homes. So, it's respectable just to give them time and space to figure that whole thing out, because that's a whole industry right there of people who just lost their homes. So, and it makes sense. A lot of people lost their homes. So, hold on, I'm trying to see what else. Did you hear about Jacob Elordi? He's replacing Paul Mescal in the Ridley Scott movie.
No.
Yeah, so Ridley Scott.
The what movie?
So Ridley Scott was going to make a movie called I think it's called The Dog Star, something like that. It's like a post-apocalyptic film, and it's supposed to be him reuniting with Paul Mescal, right? Or Mescal. well, um, I know he's. I've been trying to correct this for a long time. I can't even correct myself. But he was supposed to be doing a film with him, but because of the fact that he kind of so really Scott slipped the fact that Paul Mescal is gonna be a little busy with the Beatles film. That's gonna be like a 4-part movie.
Yes,
That's
the
also
Beatles
going to have
film.
it's gonna have Joseph Quinn in it. So it's like, and because of that, he was kind of alluding that he may not be in the movie anymore. And then there was the whole news last week that Jacob Elordi is gonna replace him. So now
Interesting.
he's gonna be in the movie. So yeah. What else? What else? Toy Story. I mean, yes, we already know about that. We know about that. I will mention one thing because this did get popped up. So apparently, there's a report going on that Marvel might actually be recasting T'Challa.
Who?
Um,
Oh,
T'Challa,
really? No.
remember?
Thank you for
Yeah.
that. I don't like it.
Again, it's a report. We don't know for sure
Okay.
if this is definitive.
Marvel,
The
no, don't do
report,
that.
I mean, the report is coming from Jeff Schneider, so you have to really take his report with a grain of salt because a lot of times his report might not be accurate. So, but this became like a whole headline in the last week because it's like, okay, because there's a lot of people who are very divided on this issue. I mean, yes, there was like a lot of this argument way back when he had passed, and I mean I still remember just when we got the report that he had passed, I was like, wait, what? And then how he had hidden that news from a lot of people. I think even he didn't even let a lot of people at Marvel know about his,
Yeah.
colon cancer. And so then there was like a whole idea of, well, do you recast him? Do you not recast him? And then they decided not to recast him as like something, just to honor him. And then of course decided to do the whole Shuri thing. But now it sounds as though that they're gonna try and recast him, and then apparently they even offered it to someone, but that person declined, which makes sense because because if the report is true that they are trying to recast the role, it's got you're filling in big shoes because Chadwick Boseman set such a huge standard with this character and make him so iconic, make him so legendary. Like he's only appeared in what 2, 3, okay, so 4 movies as T'Challa, right? And
Yeah.
he has set such a presence with his character, make him so iconic. And it's like, how can you even try to replicate just half of what Chadwick Boseman was able to implement with this character? Now, I know you just said that you don't want the recasting, but honestly speaking, like I can see why it needs to be done because you are losing the potential of telling a story like T'Challa, who is this king, who is someone who who had to kind of break barriers with his nation and try to open his country to the world. And it's like you are losing so much potential to tell so much of his story. It's like, why would you waste the opportunity? And it's like, I get it, there's like people who are on like both sides of the aisle about this. Honestly, I think the recasting might be a very good option, especially if they can find the right story for it. Now, of course, like we saw what happened in Wakanda Forever, they kind of implied that the T'Challa did die at some point. Like we don't know exactly what happened. Maybe it was like an accident or something. But then it's a question of, okay, how they're gonna try and introduce this new recasting because we saw what happened in Wakanda Forever. How they're gonna handle this? I mean, it sounds as though they're probably gonna do a whole multiverse for it because I think that a lot of the recasting might actually be the results of the multiverse story that's happening in Doomsday and Secret Wars. Because if they're gonna, if we're getting this report now about this whole recasting, and considering the fact that I believe Doomsday is filming sometime next year in the summer. I believe, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna start filming sometime next year. This year, sorry, sometime this year. Sorry, did I say next year? I'm still
You
in
did.
2024
I
mentality.
got really
Sorry.
confused.
I meant to say there's gonna start shooting this year for Doomsday because I believe the movie comes out next year, right? So, and it makes sense why we're hearing this report of this recasting because I'm gonna assume that if they're doing that, then either they're preparing for a character that they're gonna introduce for Black Panther 3, which is like, I feel like it's too early because I mean technically speaking Denzel Washington leaked accidentally leaked that he was gonna be in the movie and then he wasn't supposed to say that and he's like, oh sorry, I'm so sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. It's like, okay, Denzel. But again, the one person who's allowed to spoil shit, you can give it to Denzel, right? We can forgive him. But apparently Denzel Washington's gonna be in Black Panther 3, but I think why we're hearing this now might actually be pertaining to Doomsday from the looks of it, just because again the fact that the film is happening very soon for the film, because again the movie's coming out next year, so it's not really surprising that they're gonna start doing trying to figure out the schedules. And again, hearing this news right now, it's like, okay, maybe it might be part of the multiverse story. Again, we don't know exactly what Black Panther 3 is going to be about, because I mean it was accidentally spoiled by Denzel Washington. But hey, I mean, for me, I'm actually on board with the recasting. But now it's a question of, if they are doing the recasting, who would be the best choice for it, right? Because again, you have such huge shoes to fill. The last thing you want to do is get so much backlash, and even having this recasting is going to have quite an impact on someone's reputation. Because let's be honest, whoever does get cast as T'Challa, it's going to get scrutinized like horribly online by so many people, especially from those who don't want to who don't favor the recasting approach, right? So, but that's what came out this week. I just want to hear your thoughts about it as well, because I mean, you just mentioned that you were not on board with it, but now that I've given a little bit more context, like, does that change your opinion about it, or like, I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I wouldn't want him to be recasted because he leaves such like a big, presence, a legacy almost. Um, if they go the multiverse route, it's like, okay, I get it, but I hope they still acknowledge him and his Black Panther, his T'Challa, that
Yeah.
part. It's like, as long as they bring um awareness to that, and like make sure, like, whoever does get casted as that, hopefully, they also understand what they're going, like, that they understand what they're, like you said, what shoes they're trying to fill, or that, they understand like the cultural significance of everything, and be like, look, I know
Mm-hmm.
this is the job I have, I'm going to do it the best of my abilities to not disrespect Chadwick Boseman or any of that, or any of his previous work, kind of that. So, and if
And
it's up to
mm-hmm,
whatever, they do, but I just hope they do it in a thoughtful,
respectable manner.
respectful way. Yeah.
I mean, another thing I was gonna also mention too is that, I mean, if there's any person who would probably be on board with any kind of recasting and trying to continue the Black Panther slash T'Challa story, I think it would have been Chadwick Boseman himself.
Definitely.
Because I don't think he would have wanted T'Challa's story to have ended with him in, what was it? It would have been Endgame. I think his last appearance would have been Endgame.
Hmm.
And yes, he kind of did some voice work for What If season 1 before his death, but really it's Endgame, right? It's like, okay, if there's one person who probably would have been on board with this, it would have been him. And I think that's honestly one of the reasons why I feel like, this whole recasting situation, I'm not too upset by it, especially now that we've seen kind of what's happened since. And it's like, you know what? I think we should at least open up the opportunity to bring back T'Challa, because he's such a great character. A lot of people love him. I mean, he
Hmm.
set such kind of this, this culture phenomenon that was really big. Like, I still remember when the first Black Panther movie came out, and like, was it 2018, 2017,
Yeah.
twenty
Something
seventeen?
like
I think
that.
it's 20 something. Like, just to see the theater and how people were excited about it, just to see a lot of young black boys and a lot of black girls just seeing a film and just their excitement for it, and a lot of families who went out and dressed up and seeing a lot of these cultures. It was like very, very intriguing to watch. And it's like, wow, like, I can feel that if that was something that happened with me, and if I saw somebody, who looked like me as well, and it's just like, just to see them become a superhero is just absolutely, like, wow. Like, I mean, that technically did happen with me with Miss Marvel, but that's a TV
Hmm.
show, of course. So, but I swear to God, when Miss Marvel came out, I was having such a blast, because I was like listening to all the stuff that Kamala was complaining about, and just seeing kind of this cultural trauma. I was like, oh my God, this is like my life. And I actually did a lot of. And I'm gonna tell you this, because of Miss Marvel, like, my channel actually grew tremendously, because like, the show is just, it felt so personal for me, because of Kamala's background and her story, and just kind
Hmm.
of this Stacy story that a lot of us can relate to. And because of that, I was able to give my personal thoughts about it, not just from, like, just from just looking at story perspective, but just kind of how this impacts me as like a Daisy girl as well, and how we have so much similarities. And just seeing what's happened with Kamala just resonated with me so well, because that happened to me when I was a kid, right? A lot of things. And
Yeah.
so it's like, I can understand why they want to do the same thing with T'Challa, just to kind of continue off that storyline. So, but yeah, I mean, I was digressing a little bit, but still, I think that I'm on board with the recasting if they can find the right person, and one that is able to really capture a lot of what Chadwick Boseman was able to build with the character and carry that and be very respectful about it, and doing so in a way that, you know, it doesn't take away what Chadwick Boseman has done, which I highly doubt that, you know, Marvel would not be able to do too well about. I mean, I feel like if there's anybody who would be able to kind of, you know, take this task, it would be Kevin Feige. Like he's someone who really understands how to do it. Like, I mean, again, we've just saw this happen recently before with, you know, with Ross, General Ross, right? Because the previous actor was William Hurt, then he passed away. Like, I think not long before, I think Infinity War or Endgame, one of those two films, and then they recasted him with Harrison Ford. And I mean, and it works because you have such a big actor playing General Ross, and now he's gonna become the Hulk, right? So, or Red Hulk in that case. So that's why I'm on board with it. Again, I do respect why a lot of people may not be on board with their casting, because again of just the whole, you know, memories of Chadwick Boseman, but I think I'm okay with it. So, but that's just what I have to say. I mean, do you have anything else before we kind of get into kind of like the final news? I think I have like two more, but do you have anything else to add to that or no?
No, not really.
All right. So just gonna add into like two final thoughts, two final news kind of things that I'm now looking at. We just heard. I mean, you heard. Okay, so there's a whole drama that's going on and it ends with us. A lot of things happened. I know we talked about it on the show a couple months ago, because it was just kind of like what was happening behind the scenes, and then, you know, just kind of our thoughts and perspectives and like what's coming out, and then suddenly near the end of last year, it blew up that there was these complaints, the lawsuit that was filed by Blake Lively. Then the following week, then we hear Baldani has his team, and now he has his lawsuit against the New York Times, and then now he's planning on sending, having a counter lawsuit against Blake Lively, and then the fact that he was dropped by his agency, and then the whole statements from like Sony and the cast, and it's like there's a lot of shit that happened that just drops. Like, because I remember I was just kind of like working, and then suddenly I hear this loss, and I'm like, whoa, holy crap, where did this come from? Like, it was just so sudden, especially because it was at the end of the year, and you're like preparing yourself to kind of, you know, wrap up a lot of things in terms of news, and then suddenly it's like this comes out of nowhere, and now it's like it's been very, very messy and ugly, and what's been going on. And I mean, now there's like a lot of things that like speculations that's been going on. It's just like he said, she said. So a lot of things have happened. I believe there was even a point where Blake Lively wanted to be at the Golden Globes, and then apparently she wasn't allowed to do it because of just the whole situation that's happening behind the scenes. Then there's a whole new piece that came out. I don't know if it was the New York Times again, or about the messages and the text. It's like so much shit happened, and now as a result of that, because I know I'm not talking about the actual feud itself and the lawsuit, but over the weekend someone was trying to set up the report, because now, you know, the film A Simple Favor that came out like a while ago with Anna Kendrick. So there was gonna be a sequel. The sequel has already been filmed, and I think that's just waiting to get released or something, but there hasn't been a release date for it. But then someone online was spreading this, you know, this rumor that apparently the A Simple Favor 2 was canceled as a result of the whole situation that's been going on with Blake Lively, which, of course, when I was reading it, I was like, I don't see any credibility to the story, because it just seems like it's just made up. Now, over the weekend, the director of A Simple Favor 2 was like, what is this nonsense? This is definitely not true. We're definitely in post-production. This movie's still going, right? They're just doing the final touches. I think they're in post-production, right? So they're still working on trying to finalize a lot of the scenes and everything. We don't have a release yet, but he did say that the release date is coming soon. But having said that, right, it does bring up a big point. Okay, it's like, if we have all this going on with Blake Lively, and after what happened with the Golden Globes, like, how would this affect A Simple Favor 2 now? It's like, because Blake Lively is it's like one of the two main stars from the first film, and she's clearly going to be one of the two main stars in the second film. And I've seen actually some of the footage of the filming. It's like, I haven't seen the footage, but like, you know, like the filming, like the leaked images that have been out, right? It's like, she seems very involved as a character. So then it's like, okay, how will this impact this film? And so I want to bring that up because it does raise a point. It's like, oh, we totally forgot that A Simple Favor 2 is coming out this year, and now she's embroiled in this whole big lawsuit with Justin Baldani. And it's like, okay, how will this affect this film? And I am very curious about this. So, I mean, I still think the movie is gonna come out. As to whether or not this is going to impact Blake Lively's involvement with it, it's gonna be very questionable because I think it's just gonna have to be like a day by, a case by case, day by day thing, just to see kind of how the lawsuit is going to, turn out, because we don't know what's going to happen in the next month. I mean,
Mhm.
just given the fact that this news just came out last month, it's like holy shit, a lot has kind of transpired. But I mean, she has been keeping a very low key presence at the moment. She's
Yeah.
not really doing a lot of like. I believe Ryan Reynolds had just presented something this past weekend, but she wasn't there. And it's like you can clearly tell she's just trying to keep a low key
Mhm.
presence right now in the media. It's like, okay, well, how will this impact A Simple Favor too? Because that movie has been filmed. It's now in post production. It doesn't have it released yet, but I would assume it's gonna come out this year. So unless something transpires out of this whole situation. So I just want to hear your thoughts about this because that's a very, very complicated thing. Now that we kind of acknowledge that, oh wait, that is a movie that is coming out and it's supposed to be coming out this year. So,
Yeah, I definitely I mean, granted, I didn't see A Simple Favor.
girl, you're
So
missing out. It's such good
yeah,
film.
I know it came out because I remember like seeing it everywhere, but I definitely didn't see it. But with it coming out, I feel like it's gonna be a sensitive topic, trying to figure out how, especially if they do press and how all that works. But it's gonna basically come down to their agents and their managers on what the contract was signed and if there was anything, because they signed these contracts so long ago. So, I feel like she, you 100% know that reporters are probably going to, when they interview Anna Kendrick, try to get info on Blake Lively. And I know I mean, obviously I don't know Anna Kendrick as a person, but face everything, she seems like, the type who wouldn't, be like, that's not my story to say. We're going to move on, and try to direct it away. So,
And not only
but
that, but then it's like you're wondering, like, is Blake Lively even going to be involved in the press and the marketing and the promotions because of all this that's happening behind the scenes with her legal situation? So it's like, are we gonna even see her at this point? Like, are we just going to get one half of the cast and then we're just going to simply kind of like keep Blake Lively hidden? It's like, is that even the right approach, or should we just still allow her to be involved, or do we just wait until we see what happens with the legal situation? I mean, I would I would hope that we do get some kind of release update for the film, but we would just have to see, right? Like, I mean, it's a
yeah,
very complex situation, but go
it's
ahead.
definitely gonna have to depend on, especially like if they do take this to court, like it literally goes to court, and um it the legal process of that and what they can say about everything is gonna have to be involved if it comes at the same time as the press.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be on for press tours and stuff. So, but I feel like I feel like the way it's gonna go is Blake Lively, she'll be at the premiere.
Yeah.
She'll probably do the very big um
Probably
interviews.
photos. Well,
Yeah,
I would even say that
photos.
she might just do the photos, and then
She might just
they'll
do the photos.
probably
Yeah, you're
might
right.
skip the interview unless like there's a specific person that might get
Yeah.
permission. Then maybe, but otherwise it would have to be just the photos because I think that's what happened with Ezra Miller. Remember Ezra Miller with the
Oh
Flash?
yes,
He
it was
showed
just
up at the
photos.
premiere, but he did no interviews because he
Yeah.
had that whole situation with his legal, stuff, and
Yeah.
that was actually
That was
far
that was
worse.
yeah,
And
way
that was far
worse.
worse. That was far worse than what's happening right now. I mean, let's be honest. Like I was even I was surprised that Ezra Miller showed up to the premiere, and I was like,
Yeah.
we're doing this, aren't we, Warner Bros? Huh?
Yeah, definitely. I
um,
totally forgot about that situation. But yeah, it's basically like the PR team and everything is they're gonna have to figure it out. But yeah, it if they push it to this year, it comes out. She might just do photos, show up at the premiere, and not really give
mm-hmm.
interviews, and they might have on Anna do most of it, but
I
they're
would
gonna try.
imagine maybe what's his name, Henry Goulding.
Oh yeah, they're probably gonna make Henry Golding. I forgot that he's in that. I remember
Yeah,
that scene because it was right after
Asians.
Crazy Vacations. Yeah, that's how this got involved. Um, oh yeah, I definitely feel like they'll try to push the two of them and just based off they're both funny people and how they handle interviews, try to take that
Mm-hmm.
away and stuff like that. So
I mean, if
those
there's
are my
anybody
thoughts.
who's capable, it would be Anna Kendrick. She's just
Oh
hilarious. I
yeah,
think that she can somehow try to, do damage control in some way or some form. I mean, again, we would just have to see how things transpire with it ends with us drama and the whole legal situation, but yeah, it's not been pretty, guys. I mean, again, I it's a he said she said. I'm not gonna go too deep into the legal situation or give my thoughts about it because it's a he said she said situation. It's very complex, very complicated. I know that's like the last thing anyone wants to hear coming about this, but it's a he said she said situation. It's like, okay, we're just gonna have to see how the courts work out in
Yeah.
determining this whole situation. So again, but yeah, that's all I have to say. I mean, I don't know if you want to add anything else until or otherwise I'm gonna go into the
No.
last thing. Okay. So, the last thing we're gonna talk about, and this is gonna be a fun topic because streaming is a big thing, right, Maya? Like everyone loves streaming, especially when it comes to Netflix, right? I mean, Netflix is
Yes.
literally like as much as the fact that there are some really great content elsewhere. Like I believe truly the best content that I get a lot from might be from Max and from Apple TV Plus. There's still no denying that Netflix is still topping a lot
Hmm.
of the streaming game, right?
Yeah.
So whether it be the TV or the movies. So now this past week this past week they updated their most viewed and some of the popular shows that have coming out in the last week or so, and there's a lot of big what's it called? There's a lot of big updates in terms of like their most viewed like charts like of all time. We're talking about of all time in both the
Oh, okay.
movie and TV side. Okay, so let's have this fun this conversation. Okay, so. So have you heard of the movie Carry On that was on Netflix that had Taron
Yes,
Egerton and
I have
Sophia
not
Carson?
seen Carry On. I mean, I pretty much like I get what happens because my family did spoil it over
Oh my
the
god,
holidays.
why?
But I have not seen Carry On, but I know I should watch it.
But it became a very big movie. Like I watched it the first day or two it came out because I was like, oh, Taron Egerton, I love this guy. Like I've seen him from Kingsman. I'm gonna go see him. I did not expect that film to be so big in a way that it did on Netflix. It had like the first week it broke like a launch for 2024, so it became the biggest launch for a Netflix film that year. And then it started to kind of creep up that the film might actually become one of the most viewed films of all time, and it did because this Tuesday it was up. So Netflix updated their most popular list. So the most popular
Hmm.
list is basically another way of saying their most viewed movies or most viewed TV shows, right? And Carry On just jumped into the top 10 charts of all time, bumping out Glass Onion. You remember the Glass Onion movie, Knives Out,
Yes.
with Daniel Craig? So that got bumped out of the top 10 because that was at number 10 previously. That's now bumped out, and now Carry On is now the fifth most viewed Netflix movie of all time. It's
Wow.
insane. It's
That's
insane.
insane.
Like, that's insane. I mean, a lot of people were watching it because I feel like the reason why that film did so well is because it came out at a time in December where people are traveling. It
Hmm.
does have that Christmas aesthetic because a lot of the film's setting is taking place like around Christmas. So it's a very relatable situation that a lot of people go through. It's like a film that you would watch on an airplane as well because people are going on holidays. It does have that Die Hard vibe, and also it does give off the the vibes of what a lot of people deal with, which is going to the airport, having to deal with TSA, and especially during one of the most busiest time of the year, which is the Christmas season, right?
Hmm.
So, and I think that a lot of the fact that the film has those aspects, like it just made it so like very fitting to the time and period that the movie did come out. I think the film came out in November, December. I'm pretty sure it may have been December, but it came out at such a right time at the film that a lot of people were able to catch up on this film, as well as the fact that again it does have that Die Hard film. Like a lot of people are comparing to Die Hard, like the
Yes, to
like a
Die Hard.
TSA.
Yes.
It's like TSA version of Die Hard, so it makes sense why. And a lot of people were catching up on it. I even told my dad to go check it out, so he watched it. I watched it. I mean, it's a really fun movie. Like I've seen it. It's a really fun film. Um, I think the first half is a little better than the second half because the first half it's like you're building that suspense up. It's like, ooh, wow, okay, this is intriguing, and it's like you have this guy and whatnot who's now blackmailing him and all that. It's like, okay, but then the second half does kind of go a little bit far fetched, but even then, it's still a very enjoyable film because you're just like, okay, this is just a fun, entertaining film, right? I mean, it's like it has kind of that Die Hard vibe to it. So, but but and it makes sense why people really did enjoy it. I mean, it's one that again you can just put on the background and be like, okay, watch this, or it's just something you can eat as like a popcorn flick, right?
Mhm.
So, but yeah, that film is now in the top 5. I mean, top 10. It's now the 5th most watched film, which is like insane. I think that would mean that 2 of the 2024 movies that Netflix released has now charted. Because I think the other one was Demzel. Remember the one with
Oh,
Millie Bobby
Damsel.
Brown? Damsel
Yes.
with Millie Bobby Brown. I'm pretty sure that was last year too. That I believe is like the second or third most viewed movie. I might be wrong, but I know it's in the most popular film list. So, but that's a film that I wanted to mention because I was like, whoa, this film is now in the top 5 of all time, which again I was anticipating was going to happen because the more I was reading about the reports about it, I was like, oh, this film is gonna jump into the charts very soon, and a lot of
Mhm.
people, a lot of outlets were like predicting that as well. So that happened. That's now official, since Tuesday. And then you want to hear the TV side?
Sure.
The TV side. So Squid Game came out, and I know I've been talking to you about this. I've been talking to you about this. Now for those who don't know, Maya has not watched Squid Game.
I have not.
She has not watched Squid Game, and I'll talk about it in a second, but for those who do know, I've already seen Squid Game. I've caught up with season 2. I actually did a whole review and discussion about it, so go check it out. I'll probably put a link down somewhere, but I'm not really surprised. Squid Game season 2 was already breaking records like within
Mhm.
like a couple days. It already jumped into the most viewed list for the so we're talking about most popular list still, so all time.
Yes.
Now with Netflix, they do have a section where it's one is English and one is non-English. So
I did look at that, yes.
exactly. So for Squid Game season 2, it's now jumped into the all-time most popular list for a non-English show. So it started off
Mhm.
at 7, which is not surprising because honestly, like if because here's the thing, Squid Game season 1 is honestly it's literally Netflix's most watched show of all time, whether it's non-English or English. It has more views than Wednesday season 1, more than Stranger Things season 4. It's
Mhm.
the most viewed show. Okay, I hope you understand how popular this show is. Um, so that's why I was not surprised that season 2 did just as well as season 1. And apparently, the rate that season 2 is going is that it is very likely that it's going to surpass season 1 very soon because it's only been about 2-3 weeks now. I think we're going into the third week, and it's already been jumping the charts because after the first week that it released, this week it jumped to number 2 to the
Dang.
most viewed. So it's right below season 1, right? So at this point, it's a matter of when will season 2, you know, overthrow or am
Mhm.
I saying that right? Overthrow
I guess overthrow, yeah.
season 1. Overthrow season 1. Because now it's a matter of that waiting game, but still, I mean, the fact that season 2, like right now, I'm gonna tell you that season 2, I'm not surprised that it's doing so well because even though it had a mixed reaction from audiences because of how it ended, because of the fact that you can tell that a lot of what happened in season 2 is a build up to season 3 because season 3 is the final season that's gonna be coming out later this year. Apparently, yeah, it's coming out this year for sure. But it's like almost like it feels as though that season 1, I mean, sorry, season 2 felt like a part 1 of like a 2-season saga, right?
got
Or
it, got
like
it.
like something like that, right? It's like, okay, we got this, but now how we're going to end this off, and now people are very upset that they have to wait, for season 3 just to complete the story. I mean, I've already read the whole behind the scenes for season, of Squid Game, and the reason why they did this because the actual creator of the show was like, oh, I had too much to tell for a story, so I decided to kind of like split it, and I felt that this was the best place to kind of end off the first season, and then the third season gonna do this, so it's like, okay, great. I'm trying not to spoil, by the way, because if you have not seen it, which I'll talk about in a second, but still, I mean, Squid Game just became such a huge phenomenon, and I think even more so now than back in season 1, because season 1 came out, I believe, 2021. So there's been a 3-year gap, by the way, and I feel like more so now than before, I've been seeing so much hype for the series. Like I swear to God, when I go onto Instagram, right,
Mhm.
all I'm seeing is all the Squid Game stuff, all these Squid Game edits, whether it be the guard circle or the shipping that's going on, or some like actors and cast members, and it's like, whoa, like I feel like this is a lot more. There's a lot more hype now than I remember with season 1, because when season 1 came out, right, I saw the show like a couple of days after it released, and then I didn't see this much hype for Squid Game back then. Maybe I just missed it, maybe, who knows, but I'm seeing a lot more of this now. Like I mean, it's really insane just to see how people are excited for Squid Game. And again, it doesn't surprise me that it's like now one of the most watched seasons for a television show. Now it's just like, whoa, okay, we're gonna have season 3 coming out soon. It's just like, whoa. Like, it's just to see kind of how Squid Game has grown, and just seeing kind of the interviews and getting the perspective, because I've learned so much about what's happened and how they developed season 2, and it's like very intriguing just to see those behind the scenes. I'm trying not to spoil, because I'm like, you've not seen Squid Game, but yeah, I mean, sorry, I had to get some water. But my only regret now is that I didn't do any reaction for it. And I mentioned this in my review and discussion thing. I was like, yo, if there's one thing I really regret, it's not doing a whole reaction to it. And the reason why I don't do reactions is, here's the thing, I have such a hard time with Netflix shows, because Netflix drops everything all at once. And this is what I hate about their format. It's like, I don't like their binge format, because you can't just, watch something, take a break, and then go back to when you're free. It's like, when you have something as big as Squid Game or Stranger Things or even Wednesday, right? You kind of have to try and finish everything very quickly, because then those spoilers comes in very quickly. People love to spoil it right away on the internet. There is no period. There's no grace period where people are like, oh, please avoid spoilers. No. That is not how the world works, right?
No, yeah.
The spoilers are there immediately.
It's like, if you don't watch it at 3 a.m. when it comes out, you're gonna get spoiled.
And you know what's so funny? When I saw, so when Squid Game season 2 was coming out, I actually stayed awake up until 3 a.m. to maybe watch a couple episodes as much as possible before going to work. Thankfully, I work remote, so it's not like a huge problem. But I had to stay up at 3 a.m. for them to drop the episodes. I watched the first 2 episodes, and then I went to bed and went to work. And then thankfully, because it was my last day working before I went into my PTO, that was like, okay, great. I don't have to wait too long, because now I can go on my break for the rest of so I can like watch the show for the rest of the day once I finish work, because I'm not gonna have anything else, after. So, but still, it's like, I had to jump on as quickly as possible, because I'm like, otherwise I'm gonna be spoiled. And like, I would have missed the big twist from season 2, then the whole episode 6, where that made me so stressed. And I explain all this in my reaction discussion video, so I'm gonna leave it there for people to check out. But again, just the fact that season 2 is doing so well, and it's doing at a rate that it's probably going to exceed season 1, is absolutely insane. I mean, I'm gonna be keeping an eye on this for sure, because that's just like one thing. It's like, okay, when is it going to overthrow season 1 to get that coveted title of becoming the most watched series? And what's so funny is that, there's been rumors going on about, the fact that there's going to be an American version of Squid Game. I don't know if you heard about this.
I have, because everyone's trying to figure out what games to play.
I swear to God, I feel like one of the games might be Simon Says, but that's just me. But 100%. 100%.
100%. That's a good game.
I feel like Simon Says has to be one of them. I feel like Dodgeball could be a possible scenario. But there is apparently a report going on that there's going to be an American version. I think even the creator of the Squid Game, like the actual creator, was like, I think there's been some conversation about this. And I was like, so you're kind of confirming. Now, of course, there isn't too much of the confirmation yet from Netflix. But of course, when you have Squid Game, which is literally your most viewed series of all time, even surpassing Wednesday, even surpassing Stranger Things, right? Of course, you would want to try and build the whole series and try to do American version. And of course, the one director who is very attached, who's been, reported to be attached, is David Fincher. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a director who made Seven, Gone Girl.
Okay.
Recently, he just did that Michael Fassbender movie. What was it called? It was like the Michael Fassbender movie where he's like the assassin. Killer. So, like, I actually love David Fincher stuff, because he's very good when it comes to the mystery of stuff. He also did Mindhunter, by the way. I don't know if you've seen Mindhunter.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God. Like, to this day, everyone is so upset of the fact that there still hasn't been a season 3. And, Fincher has talked about this many times, that it's a very expensive show, so that's why they probably are not going to do season 3. But, but yeah, the fact that we're not gonna get Mindhunter, but the fact that he's apparently involved with Squid Game, the American version, I'm just like, okay, that's gonna be interesting. Which also makes sense now that I'm looking at it. It's like, okay, well, Squid Game is literally their biggest show ever. Of course, they would want to try and expand the world, which it
Yeah.
makes sense because again, I know you have not seen the show, but one thing they do acknowledge is that there's one detail. Again, I'm gonna spoil just this one small detail, but there's this one detail that they do mention in the series that apparently this might be happening worldwide, but the Korean version is the best version. So then it's like, oh, okay, if that's the case, maybe you might see a much, you know, international phenomena of like the Squid Game, right, or some similar kinds of Squid Games, right? So yeah, it makes sense. I'm hoping that's the approach that they take, and they don't just do a straight up remake of, you know, Squid Game. Like a spin-off would make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But again, we have no idea of what, you know, we don't have a lot of details about it, of course. But still, I'm very excited. The fact that Squid Game is doing well, I mean, I'm not surprised. Which also means that, you know, when season 3 comes out this year, again, there's been a leaked release date. I'm not gonna say what it is, but it is coming out this year. The wait will be much shorter. I would not be surprised if it's gonna be as big as season 2 and season 1 and 2. So, but I know you have not seen it. I'm gonna try and get you into it. Just so everyone knows, I'm trying to do something with Maya, where I'm gonna have her. I'm gonna try and see if we can try and do like a reaction. Like a whole segment of reaction videos together now that, you know, both seasons are out now, and you know, what better way to then prepare for season 3 than to watch Squid Game season 1 and 2, because oh my god, like, I'm honestly excited for it. Like, I mean, all the algorithms I have, it's like Squid Game. Like, I don't even have anything else. I'm like, okay, can you guys give me something else that isn't Squid Game? But then I'm like, I actually do like the Squid Game stuff. But we're gonna try and see if we can do like a reaction thing for it, just kind of like doing like a hype for season 3 at some point. I gotta figure out like the whole what's it called, I gotta figure out the whole technical stuff for it, because we are kind of 200 miles apart. So it's gonna be a little challenging, but because it is, you know, Maya's first time seeing the show, because now you've mentioned to me before you tried to see the first episode and you never completed it. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think I saw like either the first episode or like half of it, because when season 1 came out, my roommate, best friend at the time, well, still my best friend, she is Korean. Like, she is from Korea, so this was huge for her, especially because she was like, guys, this is like, look at this. Like, she's the one how I figured out about the Parasite movie too, like, was because of her. So she was nonstop in our apartment talking about this show. And I was like, I'll give it a try. And then I don't remember why I like couldn't or didn't. I think it was like, I swear Squid Games 1 came out the same time as Stranger Things 4 came out.
No,
Or
no.
didn't they come out the same year?
Same year, yes, but not the same time.
Same year.
Same year, because Stranger Things. So the first part of Stranger Things, no, they did not. Squid
I
Game came out
thought they did.
2021.
Yeah.
No. Squid Game came out 2021, and Stranger Things came out in 2022. And the reason why I know this is because I remember when I got COVID. I got COVID in 2022, and that's when I watched Stranger Things season 4 part 1 with my cousin, because we were we were in that period, like that quarantine period, and I was like, oh well, I'm gonna have to watch Stranger Things season 4 because it just had came out.
Got it. Okay.
Just came out. So no, they did not come out at the same time. But
Got it.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
There was some show, I thought it was Thing, but I remember now, like, I was in the same apartment during those 2 years, so that's why I knew it from her. But there was
Maybe
some
Wednesday?
other show that it could have been. I
Maybe Wednesday.
absolutely love Wednesday, but there was some show that I like, just I went to that one instead, and I was just like, I mean, but all my roommates were talking about it, about Squid Games, and yeah, I just never got back into it. I don't know. My taste in shows and stuff is kind of weird. I mean, you know, I'm currently watching Gossip Girl for the first time.
Yeah.
So, and
She's on a Gossip Girl phase right now.
I love Gossip Girl. So
Now,
it's just very backwards.
Let me just point out that I would never watch Gossip Girl.
Yeah,
Just for anyone
yeah.
who just wants to know, that's not my taste. If you know my taste, you would know that Gossip Girl and anything just teen drama is not really my kind of tea. But, I mean, I will say I have seen a few clips of Gossip Girl to know what it is about, but it's not my cup of tea. But even with that being the case, I'm gonna try and figure out a way for us to do a reaction video for Squid Games season one,
Yeah.
for Squid Game season 1 and 2, because I feel like you're really missing out on the hype. I feel like for someone like, because we have a lot of similar taste in, you know,
Mm-hmm.
movies and TV shows, and I mean, yes, there are some differences. Like, I mean, I'm not going to be the type who watch teen stuff like, you know, you
Yeah.
do, but I'm totally surprised that you know, you have not caught up on the Squid Game phenomenon, because it's like the most talked about thing, and I feel like if you actually watch the show, you would like understand the social commentary, and I feel like that's something that you actually do enjoy. Like, we've had
Mm-hmm.
these conversations before, so it does shock me to hear that you have not seen it. um and so it's like, okay, I gotta try and get you to go into the show and see how that show is like, and, you know, give your perspective about it, because I want to see your reaction for sure, about the whole series, and kind of how things develop, and what you like, what you don't like, and where things really just shock you, what things don't really shock you. And I will say that there are a couple things, like, even for me, I think this would also benefit me as well, just to do a rewatch, because
Mm-hmm.
I did not do a rewatch for season two, leading up to season two. Let me rephrase that. Leading up to season
Mm-hmm.
two, because I've been busy for one thing, and plus I was like, oh, maybe I don't need to rewatch season one. And I think at one point I was just kind of, at one point I almost thought I was gonna go watch season two casually, because I was like, oh, a lot of people aren't really talking about it anymore. It's like maybe the hype has died down, which of course is not the case now. Now looking at it, but even then, it's just like, you know, this would be a really great opportunity for me to rewatch the series, because I swear I do believe I forgot a lot of things from season one. Like, I still remember the main aspect that happened, so who won, how it won, you know, what happened to some of the characters, all that sort of stuff, right? But there's clearly some things I missed from season one that were actually called back in season two, and I didn't realize this until I was like looking at a couple of clips. I was like, oh god, I totally forgot this was a thing. So I feel like it would also benefit me. So we'll try to figure something out. Again, it's gonna require a lot of testing and seeing how we're gonna be able to do this
Mm-hmm.
whole distance thing, or either that, or I'm gonna have to just see you up there and just do the whole video binging thing, whatever, with you up there. I'm gonna have to figure it out though. We'll see how that works, but you gotta jump on it for sure. But we'll see. Let's try and set something up at some point, because I know you're also
Yeah.
very busy as well. So that's another thing. It's like, you're busy, I'm busy. That's another whole kind of factor we gotta, you know, kind of figure out. Because again, it's like, it's not just that, but then we have to also figure out like our personal lives as well. So, but we'll figure out
Mm-hmm.
something. I feel like that's something that we'll have a really fun time with these all reaction videos. Again, it's just a matter of seeing how we can try and schedule all that and figure out the whole technical aspect for it. So, but yeah, I think that's the last thing I'm going to talk that we can talk about, because again, it's been a very soft news week, especially because again, the new year had just started, and again, I wanted to kind of start off our like, I guess you can say, relaunch our podcast in a way that, you know, we can just slowly get back into the jive of things. Especially, I think this is the best time to do it, since it is the new year and there isn't a whole lot to kind of discuss. But I look forward to trying continue this off on Sundays. I mean, there will probably be times where you probably will not be able to join us, because I
Mm-hmm.
know you're a very busy person. So, but for the most part, we're gonna try and keep this up on Sundays at 5. Is that what we're gonna aim for?
Hopefully, yes.
Hopefully. So we'll just try to keep this up for Sundays 5 p.m. Kind of just look at the week of news, whether it be TV, movies, discuss about them, give our insight into it, and our perspectives about it as well, and kind of, again, just any kind of discussions that we can get, because I mean, we both love talking about movies, we love talking about TV shows, and what better way than to just, you know, do a podcast and kind of just embrace kind of, you know, the fact that we're in a very rich environment of, you know, of movies and TV shows, especially now this year, right? This year we have so much coming out, so I'm looking forward to seeing our coverage for it and discussing more about these films as, you know, we get deeper into the new year. But that's all I have to say, coming from me. I don't know if you have any last words before we sign off, Maya.
Um, no, just excited to see what 2025 brings in the sense of movies, TV shows, and what new things, and then eventually, leading up, like seeing what happens for 2026, what spoilers do we get now that will get released then. So,
Exactly. Alrighty then. So I think that's all we have to say today. Hopefully we'll talk a lot more. I mean, we have a lot of things coming out, of course, this month. I mean, Oscar nominations are gonna be coming out very soon, so that's probably gonna be one of our big topics. In a couple, I think next week actually. I'm looking at the date now, because now that they pushed it off to the 19th.
Oh yeah.
That's probably gonna be our next episode right there. There you go. So, but yeah, that's all we have to say today on the Movieception show, this podcast. I mean, I'm very excited for this new journey. But until then, I think this is our chance to just sign off. We kind of talk about a lot of great things. So that's all I have to say. Bye everyone. Thank you. We'll see you next week at hopefully at 5.